Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Theology Central podcast. Now, if you're listening to us on Spreaker, you've already heard our professional intro. For those who don't hear the professional intro, welcome. This is the Theology Central podcast. I think I said Theology Central podcast. I believe I did. Welcome to the Theology Central podcast. It is Saturday, May the 16th, 2020. It is currently 8:23 p.m. Central Time, and I am live on the air. Yes, coming to you live from Victory Baptist Church, located in the middle of nowhere, Texas, on this Saturday evening. If you are listening to us live, thank you very much for taking time out of your possibly busy Saturday evening. Maybe it's not so busy, but whatever you may be doing, if you're listening to us live, thank you very much for taking time to listen. Hopefully, I will provide something that will be of great interest to you and hopefully spiritually beneficial. If you're not listening to us live, well, that's a shame. That really is. That's a shame. You should be listening to us live. If you would like to listen to us live, download the Spreaker app. That's Spreaker, the Spreaker app. Look for VBC, then choose all of our podcasts. You should be able to figure it out. If you need any help finding us so that you can listen to us live, simply email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. All right. Well, it's Saturday evening. I'm here. Let's talk about hackers, President Trump, and Satan. That sounds like a good mix, right? Hackers, President Trump, and Satan. That's at least hopefully the title got your attention. Now, if you've been paying any attention to the news, then you definitely know about the hackers and President Trump. You definitely know about that if you've been paying attention to the news. If you haven't, then you may not even know what's going on with hackers and President Trump. And so I'll need to inform you about that. For those who are aware of what's going on, you may be thinking, well, where does Satan come into play in all of this? Well, this is the Theology Central podcast, right? So I try to make theology central to what's happening in our world. So we're going to look at this from a spiritual perspective because I think it has something to say to all of us, to every Christian. I think this situation that is currently being played out in view of the public, right? The public is being able to see it and to watch it and to keep up with it. And sometime this week, we're going to get an answer of what these hackers actually have or they do not have. But while that's all playing out for the world to see, I think there's a very important spiritual lesson in your life and my life that we need to consider. All right, so let's take some time this Saturday evening to consider this. If you have a Bible, you may want to have that nearby if you can. If not, let's just listen and see where this goes. Are you ready? All right, this all started for me. What day is the first news article that I have here? The first news article I have here, I think, was published 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. I don't have a date here. It was found in the New York Post. So the New York Post originally published the article, then Fox News picked it up, and then Fox News published it, I think, 2 days ago. And then as of just about 5 hours ago, there was another news article written about this. So it may have been even played out longer than that. I haven't traced back the first reporting on this, but it's definitely been playing out over the last few days. And I keep getting updates on it on my iPad. So when I first saw the story, I was like, oh, this could have political implications. This could have implications on the election if it turns out to be true. And then there was another part of me that's like, well, it probably isn't true. So I got ready to kind of disregard the story. And then the next time I got an update on it, I was like, wait a minute. There's a spiritual principle here. And we kind of made a reference to this spiritual principle on Wednesday night during the Wednesday night service here at Victory Baptist Church. We live streamed. And you can listen to that message under the VBC podcast. But then all of this kind of started coming together, and I'm like, you know what? I think there's something here. So we'll find out if you agree. Here we go. Here is the story. Again, originally published in the New York Post, or by the New York Post, picked up by Fox News. Here is the headline as it reads on foxnews.com. Hackers double ransom demand to $42 million from Lady Gaga and Madonna's attorney. Threaten Donald Trump. Wow. Okay. So we have some hackers. They have doubled a ransom demand. So they already had issued a ransom demand at one point. I don't know how far back. And it looks like they were targeting a law firm. And Lady Gaga and Madonna, I guess, used this law firm. And they now have a ransom demand of $42 million. Basically, they've hacked into this law firm. They supposedly have information, I guess, dealing with Lady Gaga, possibly Madonna. And they're like, hey, we're going to release all this information unless you give us $42 million. And then, I don't know what the original demand was, but then they raised it to $42 million, and now they're threatening Donald Trump. So what is going on? Well, let's try to get into this. I kind of gave you a little bit of background information. Let's see what we can find out. The ransom demand for the secret files of a cyber-attacked lawyer to A-list stars has doubled to $42 million. As the hackers are now threatening to reveal dirty laundry on President Donald Trump in just a week if they are not paid in full. The attorney, Alan Grubman, the most prominent entertainment attorney in the world, and hopefully that's how you pronounce his last name, Grubman, Grubman, the most, I'm going to say Grubman. He's the most prominent entertainment attorney in the world, whose firm represents the firm represents stars, and here's just a list of some of them: Lady Gaga, Madonna, Mariah Carey, U2, Bruce Springsteen, Bette Midler. They were shaken down by hackers who attacked his New York law firm for $21 million. So I guess the original threat was, give us $21 million or we're going to start releasing information. Now they've doubled it to $42 million. Now the hacking group, here's the name of the hacking group, capital REVIL, capital RE, and then VIL is in lowercase. Capital RE, lowercase VIL. That's the name of the hacking group. They got into the firm's server and stole 756 gigabytes of confidential documents. 756 gigabytes of confidential documents, including contracts, personal emails from a host of Hollywood and music stars. They also deleted or encrypted the firm's backups. The only way it can be decrypted is to pay the criminals for a key. So they went all in. They went all in here. Grubman, we're told, that's what the reporters are saying, that they are refusing to negotiate. A source said his view is if he paid, the hackers might release the documents anyway. Plus, the FBI has stated the hack is considered an act of international terrorism, and we don't negotiate with terrorists. On Thursday of this week, the hackers upped the ante by posting a chilling new message saying the ransom is now doubled to $42 million. The next person we'll be publishing is Donald Trump. There's an election going on, and we found a ton of dirty laundry on time. They added, Mr. Trump, if you want to stay president, poke a sharp stick at the guys. Otherwise, you may forget this ambition forever. And to the voters, we can let you know that after such a publication, you certainly don't want to see him as president. The deadline is in 1 week. All right. To Grubman, the attorney, they stated, we will destroy your company down to the ground if we don't see the money. All right. Now, according to everything I have found, this attorney, he's represented a lot of people, but he seems to have never been an attorney for President Trump. He seems to have never had anything to do with President Trump. So why they're claiming did they get information on Trump somewhere else? Or is this just, are they just bluffing? Are they just bluffing? Hey, Trump, we've got some dirty laundry on you, thinking he knows he has some dirty laundry out there and therefore he'll get involved. But nobody really knows if they actually have anything on Donald Trump, but it doesn't look like they're going to pay the ransom. It doesn't look like anyone's going to pay the ransom. And if they don't pay the ransom, then then they're going to call their bluff. And then sometime this coming week, possibly information is going to be released. Now, I don't know what they have. I don't know if they have anything. Well, we know they have 700 and something gigabytes of information. So they could release something. Whether they have any dirty laundry on President Trump, we don't know that, and I'm not going to even speculate. I have no idea. But it's obviously it's a horrible situation when hackers get in and take information that is to be private, and now they're going to release it unless you give them $42 million. Just a horrible situation, and we'll have to see how it plays out. And we could talk about it from a computer security perspective. We could talk about it from a political perspective. Give me 1 second. Got to take a drink of water. And I had to cough. But see, I hit the mute button. Isn't that good? Yes. All right. So we could talk about it from all of those different perspectives. All right. Political, computer security. It's that so much of our lives is kept in a digital format somehow, right? So much of think of how many of our conversations are in a digital format through text, through messaging, through things we post on social media, emails we send. So much of our life is lived out in the digital world. That's where it's lived out. Whether in a public way or in a private way, it's occurring digitally. And if someone can get a hold of that information, then they can do great damage to you as a person. They can do great damage to your career. They can do great damage to your family. They can just do great damage. And that's a fact. We all know that. That's just one of the realities of living in the time that we live. So much of our lives, so many of our conversations happen in a digital way. And if someone can get them, then they can threaten you and they can possibly destroy you, destroy your reputation, and bring you down, right? That's just the reality of the world in which we live. And we could talk about how to keep yourself safe, be very careful what you say. We could talk about all of that, but I want to approach it from a radically different perspective. I want to approach this from a theological perspective. And when I started thinking about this story, two concepts came to mind. Two biblical passages came to my mind. So let's look at the biblical passages first, and then we'll look at these concepts, and I think you'll kind of get an idea of where I am going here. Ephesians chapter 4, let's start in verse 27. Ephesians 4:27. Ephesians 4:27. Neither give place to the devil. Neither give place to the devil. Ephesians 4:27. Neither give place to the devil. Now, this idea is never give place to the devil. Some think it's connected to verse 26. Some believe it should be looked at as a standalone comment. But whether we connect it to verse 26 or whether we leave it as standalone, the one thing is true here. The one thing that we know is clear here. We are being told, the people at Ephesus were being told, we are being told, do not give a place to the devil or for the devil. Don't give a place to the devil. Now, what does it mean not to give a place to the devil, right? Neither give place to the devil. What does it mean to give a place to the devil, right? Now we'll come back and look at that in just a minute, but that's the first thing that came to my mind. And the reason that came to my mind is because on Wednesday, I taught on that verse. So it was already in my mind, but I was really thinking, okay, all right, I think I can draw a correlation here, but stay with me. Another passage came to mind. The next one is in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Look at verse 3. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. All right? So this idea of giving a place to the devil and this idea of strongholds, that's what came to my mind. This giving a place to the devil and strongholds. What does that have to do with hackers, Trump, and Satan? Well, let's put this all together, and I think you'll understand. First, let's look at that Ephesians 4:27 verse. Ephesians 4:27. This is interesting. In Ephesians 4:27, if you pick up any other translation of the Bible, you're going to find they don't translate it give place. They translate it a couple of other different ways. And we talked about this on Wednesday. The New International, do not give the devil a foothold. New Living Translation, for anger gives a foothold to the devil. The ESV, and give no opportunity to the devil. The Berean Study Bible, and do not give the devil a foothold. Now, the idea is do not give place, is do not give an area, a place, so that Satan can stand there, get a foothold there. And then when you look up the word foothold, or the definition of foothold, we read this. Here's the definition of foothold. A place where a person's foot can be lodged to support them securely, especially while climbing. All right, so someone's trying to climb something, they're trying to move up. Here, they got a place, a foothold. They can put their foot. It's secure. Here's another definition. A secure position from which further progress may be made. Don't give a place to the devil where he can get a foothold, where he has a secure place so that he can advance from there. He can advance spiritually against you. He can advance spiritually and attack you and bring you down and destroy you. Now, when we say don't give place to the devil, just think about where we don't believe that the devil is omnipresent and he can be all places at once. But when we speak of the devil, we're speaking of the devil as a true spiritual entity. But remember, the devil himself can't be in all places at all times. However, he uses the world, he uses the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life. There's a lot of things about the world system that Satan utilizes. So he may not get a stronghold himself as a spiritual entity, but Satan, in a sense, gets a stronghold through the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, the pride of life, through the world, through many other ways. In other words, something takes a stronghold in your life that can advance on you spiritually, to destroy you spiritually, to bring you down spiritually. So we don't want to give a foothold to anything. We don't want a foothold to anything that would oppose us spiritually, that would hurt us spiritually speaking. Now think about it. I don't know if President Trump has any dirty laundry. I don't know if Lady Gaga has any dirty laundry. I don't know if any of those clients or if anything contained in those 700 plus gigabytes of information stolen from that law firm that the hackers got, I don't know if they have any actual dirty laundry on anyone. Something that would be detrimental to their careers, that could destroy them, that could ruin their lives. I don't know if they have it. I don't know. But if they do, then that information, that those actions that they took, whether it's Trump or anyone else, those actions are listening. Those actions are ultimately going to become the very thing that's giving the hackers, giving the enemy, the foothold, the place, so that they can advance upon them, that they can either take money or destroy them. And it's the actions of either, it could be Lady Gaga, could be President Trump. Maybe they don't have anything. Maybe it could be the lawyers themselves. That law firm had done something. Again, I do not know what they have, but they are threatening. They are threatening to and again, it could just be a bluff and they don't have anything. I'm just using this as an illustration. So let me ask you spiritually in your life, what is there that has a foothold, that has a place. You've given them that place. You've given them the area. You've given them and a military term, you've given them land, strategic land, that they can launch a further attack against you at some undisclosed time in the future. What is there? Now, if you have that, then obviously you need to do everything you can to deal with it. But you don't ever want to be in a place where spiritually you are vulnerable. And again, make sure we understand this. I'm not just speaking of, oh, I've done something bad. It can be something in your life that's just making you spiritually vulnerable. You're giving something ground to attack you later, or to make you weak, or to weaken you. It doesn't, I want to make sure we don't limit what I'm trying to say here. Because some people say, well, I've got no dirt in my life, so I'm good. He's not talking about me. No, you don't have to have dirt in your life for something to have a foothold, for something spiritually to have a foothold that's going to continue to weaken you, make you more and more vulnerable until it ultimately brings you down and destroys you. It can be an idol. Right now, it's a very small idol that you think it's under control, but it begins to dominate more and more of your life. It can be a hobby that you love, but it begins to dominate more and more of your life. To spiritually, you become weaker and weaker because the idol demands more of your attention, more of your time, more of your passion, more of your love. And the next thing you know, that idol that was small is now your God, and you're bowing before it, and you're no longer worshiping the true God. It can be something small. It can be something that doesn't appear to be sinful, but it's got a foothold. You're giving it strategic land that it's going to advance on you spiritually. What could it be? Only you can tell me I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. And sometimes you need other people to say, man, I think you're giving a stronghold to that right there, and it's coming for you. It's coming for you. It's going to take away your spiritual life. It could be a relationship that appears right now to be perfectly okay and fine, but it's getting a foothold, and it begins to eat away. And the next thing you know, boom, it launches the attack. It destroys you. Okay, the Bible says to guard your heart. What possibly has your passion, your zeal, your attention, your focus, your heart, that it's ultimately going to then strangle out your passion and desire for the things of God. These hackers have a foothold right now. They have a foothold. They got in, they hacked the information, they encrypted it so that nobody else can get to it. The only way to decrypt it is to pay the hackers $42 million to get the key. They've got the information. Even if you give them the $42 million, they could still release it or leak it. So someone's life could possibly about to be really, 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 really messed up and destroyed. And that's horrible. Even if the people have done something wrong, you should handle when people do something wrong in a correct way, not in this kind of way like, hey, I'm going to blackmail you and then destroy your life because you didn't do what I wanted you to do. That's just as evil. So just think about, what could it be? Where's the foothold? Again, some of you are going to dismiss this going, well, I got no dirt in my life. I'm good. I'm not just talking about whether you have some dirt in your electronic history. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anything that can get a place. This story just is an illustration of hackers who got in, who took something, and now is going to use it against them. So I want you to think of the idea of giving place, a foothold, an opportunity. Think of it in a literal, like they got land, and now they can advance on you. Now let's go to the next idea. The next verse that I wanted you to look at is 2 Corinthians. And we looked at this one, 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war of the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. I want you to consider the word stronghold, because that really got my attention. If you look up the definition of a stronghold, we read this. Two definitions. A place that has been fortified so as to protect it against attack. So a place that has been fortified so as to protect it against attack. A place where a particular cause or belief is strongly defended or upheld. So now this is referring to, in 2 Corinthians, a spiritual stronghold, that, and let me read that back into the other definitions, a spiritual stronghold where it has been fortified and it seems to be protected against attack. A place where a particular case or belief is strongly defended or upheld. So, have you given place to the devil? Is there some place where you've given the devil a foothold? And is there a spiritual stronghold? A spiritual stronghold that seems to be defended and that you can't get rid of. A spiritual stronghold that you need to find a way to get rid of. And it's right there, and you can't seem to attack it. Now, in the case of the news story, well, here are these hackers. Well, the reason they kind of have a stronghold is we don't know who they are. They've got the information. They've decrypted the information, and now you can't, they've encrypted the information. You can't decrypt it unless you get a key. They've got a stronghold. They've got the upper hand. They've got the power. Now, obviously, I don't know how many people are involved. If they're threatening the president, now I think this ultimately kind of makes them terrorists. So I'm assuming, everyone's after them right now, and hopefully they're caught, and hopefully justice will be carried out. But listen. In a sense, that they have a foothold, but they have a stronghold. They have a position that is hard to attack. Well, spiritually, what is a stronghold spiritually in your life? It's a stronghold. I mean, it is strong, and you don't even know how to attack it. Well, remember, you can't attack it in a fleshly way. You have to attack it. And in fact, look at how the text reads. The way we have to handle this, even though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God. We cannot do this in a carnal way, in a fleshly way. We have to do this in a spiritual way. So in a spiritual way, you've got to identify the stronghold, and spiritually, it has to be taken down. You've got to destroy it. And if you go a little further, it kind of gives us, I think, some ideas on how this takes place. Casting down imaginations and everything that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. All right. The only way this is going to work is you got to cast down every imagination. You got to bring every thought into captivity, and you've got to set siege on that stronghold. So let me ask you, here in the news story, Lady Gaga, Madonna's listed in some of the headlines. So I know it's her attorney. I don't know if there's any information on her. It sounded like most of the information was related to Lady Gaga, but they have over 700 gigabytes of information, so who knows whose information they may have. They could have a lot of famous people, but they got information. They're threatening that they have information on Trump, and they're threatening to release this. So in a sense, they have a foothold, right? And they have a stronghold. And when I think about that in your life and in my life, where does the enemy have a foothold? Where do they have a stronghold? We've got to identify the foothold. We've got to identify it. And we've got to do everything we can to ensure that they cannot launch a further attack by getting rid of that foothold and pushing them back so they do not have a place. We got to make them retreat from the place. If there's a stronghold, we've got to bring it down. We've got to destroy it. Spiritually speaking, we have to bring it down. Now, you've got to be thinking spiritually about all of this. And again, don't just reduce this to some big sin in your life, because if you don't have a currently some big sin in your life, then you may not even worry about this. This deals with anything in your life that could be has a foothold where that could launch a spiritual attack to bring you down. It may seem insignificant now. You're like, that's just one little foothold. Next thing you know, figuratively speaking, they're inside your house burning it to the ground. That stronghold, well, yeah, I mean, they do have a stronghold, but it's, I think it's okay. It doesn't seem to pose a threat to me right now. Next thing you know, from that stronghold, they build the stronghold stronger and stronger and stronger. And from that stronghold, they launch attacks to destroy you. You've got to bring the stronghold down. This is very, very practical information, all right? So I want you to have those two verses again. I'm going to read them to you again. You go back to the first one. First one is Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 27. Neither give place to the devil, neither give foothold to the devil or an opportunity to the devil. And the other one, 2 Corinthians chapter 10, starting in verse 3. So the first one was Ephesians 4:27. The second passage is 2 Corinthians 10, verse 3. For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. There you have it. Now, I'll stop. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. I apologize. You may have heard while I was talking, I was having some technical difficulties. There is, when I got to the church, it was still, the sun was still up, and I just had the door open. It was super nice out, and somehow this evil, you talk about giving a place and a foothold for something. I ultimately gave a foothold, a place. I don't know if it's a mosquito. I don't know if it's a fly, but it keeps, I'd be talking and in my ear I'd hear bzzz, bzzz, and I'm trying to smack it. And I would see it flying around and I'm like, get away, go. And I'm trying to talk. I'm getting all distracted. And even what I'm trying to say, I'm like, go. I'm trying to talk about strongholds and footholds. And it's almost like I could hear the thing, speaking in my ear. Hey, idiot, you're the one who left the door open. Hey, idiot, you gave me a foothold. Hey, idiot, you forget me having a stronghold. I came right into yours. Okay. You opened the door. You're an idiot. And which is a perfect illustration of what we do spiritually. Spiritually, we open the door and say, come on in, take whatever you want from me. Here you go. You can live right here inside the church, right? Come on in, Satan. You can move into the church. You can move into my bedroom. You can move into my house. You can move into my mind. Just come on in. So in a roundabout way, it was serving as a good illustration. It's like the thing was just buzzing at me like, you're dumb. You left the door open. So you let me in. Now you got to deal with me. Well, sometimes spiritually, the same thing happens to us. Right? Okay. Sometimes we let the hackers in because we don't have the security. What security do you need in your spiritual life to protect you? You need security to protect you spiritually. Now, again, I'm not just talking. So whenever you give these kinds of sermons and these kinds of teaching, everyone always just reduces it to some big sin. They'll immediately go to sexual sin or pornography or an affair. They'll go to something like that. And in the meantime, while they're looking at all the other people going, oh, those people got the big problems. Yeah, and look at you. Right next to you see that there's a foothold and there's something standing on it, and it's launching spiritual attacks against you. And again, it can be something as simple as a hobby. And it's a perfectly legitimate hobby, nothing sinful about it, but it just begins to launch a spiritual attack of your life by it becoming your God, becoming your idol, dominating you, taking your spiritual passion away. And that becomes your passion. That becomes your zeal. That becomes your love. It can be something like that. It could be a 1,000 different things. You've got to identify what it is. What has a foothold? How are you giving place to it? Where is that stronghold that it keeps it's like right there, it's fortified, and it keeps launching attacks from it. You've got to bring down the stronghold. You've got to destroy it. And of course, it's easy. It's easy to say, like, right now, I don't know where that thing is buzzing around. Currently, hopefully it's gone away. I've tried to get it. But it's easy now to go, man, I should have shut the door. I shouldn't have left the door open. I was dumb. Well, it doesn't do you any good now to go, I wish I would have shut the door. Now I've got to find the thing and eliminate it. I've got to destroy the thing now. Okay. I can't worry about, I left the door open. And the worst thing you can do spiritually is when someone has given place to the devil and given a foothold, or there's a stronghold that's launching an attack. Don't be the Christian to go, you shouldn't have left the door open. You were an idiot. Well, hello, duh. Everyone knows that I shouldn't have left the door open. Now, now say, let's find that thing. Let's destroy that thing. whatever it is, I now see it flying around, and it's big. I don't know what that thing is. I know I live in Texas, but I think some alien creature has now entered the church building, and it's flying around, and now I'm scared for my life. This may be the last broadcast you ever hear. I don't know what that thing is, but it's big. Okay. It was at the other end of the church flying around. It looked like a bat. I think that whatever was buzzing in my ear wasn't that. Okay. I don't know what that is. I don't know how. I seem to have let in all kinds of wildlife, but you can't be the person going, and sometimes people do this. Well, why'd you leave the door open? You idiot. Okay. I know I'm an idiot, but can you help me get the thing out? Right? In other words, can you help me get rid of the foothold? Can you help me bring down the stronghold? And then you can tell me how dumb I was for allowing the foothold, giving Satan the foothold, and that's not the way we should do things. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I am looking at the front of the church. It's big. It's of dark color, and it's flying around. And I really am starting to think there's a small bat in the church. I don't know what the thing is. I'm going to have to go open the door and get it out. But this is serving as a good spiritual lesson, all right? And hopefully it will benefit someone. So I'm going to go try to get rid of this thing. And if you don't hear from me again, it was nice being able to broadcast live for you this one last time. All right. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. All right. Everyone have a good evening. God bless.